The world operates on an invisible web of rules, a social contract everyone implicitly agrees to from birth. Most rules seem reasonable and straightforward, like not stealing or stopping at red lights. However, within the laws of every nation, there are statutes so strange and specific, they defy logic. These laws are not mere suggestions, but are enforceable by authorities. Today, we will examine 50 of the most mind-bogglingly strange laws worldwide. Prepare to rethink everything you believed about order and the legal system. First, in Switzerland, a country famous for precision, watches, and chocolate, flushing the toilet after 10 p.m. can lead to serious trouble. Though not a national law, many Swiss apartment buildings have this rule to protect residents from noise pollution. Landlords often include it in leases, making it enforceable. This creates a strange dilemma. Do you break the rule and risk angry neighbors, or do you avoid flushing and endure discomfort? This law illustrates the Swiss dedication to quiet living, where even plumbing sounds threaten peace in the home. Second, in Chico, California, in the city, there is a municipal law prohibiting street noise, maintaining or using yard equipment in front of houses. Residents are advised to avoid noise during the day. If you decide to shoot a gun in your yard, expect a visit and a fine from local inspectors, according to the code. This order bears a symbolic character and was accepted during the time of the Cold War as a sign of peace. At the same time, this order is one of the few on Earth where the distribution of awards is carried out by park rangers. In Switzerland, you cannot paint your house in any color you want. The authorities must approve your choice. It is required that the house be harmoniously integrated into the general aesthetic appearance of the area. If you are talking about a non-nuclear house with lime green walls, you will most likely get a no from the Swiss authorities. This is a detailed description of the upcoming social experiment, where your circle is a test of a national philosophy of design. Who can doubt that the Scandinavian minimalism is a legal trial for homeowners? In a small mountain town of Vinnypook, a competition was held for children's playgrounds based on sports accessibility and the reliability of the structures. In 2040 years, a Soviet citizen of Tucson announced a new playground, and one Chinese person built a strange fence. The beloved bear was insulted, called a hermaphrodite, and criticized for being nearly naked. People suggested a Polish bear dressed from head to toe instead. Poor Pooh was just trying to find some honey but got involved in an international scandal about decency and clothing. In Oklahoma, it is illegal to make ugly faces at a dog. Offenders can be fined, arrested, or jailed for this disrespect. This law raises deep legal questions. What exactly is an ugly face? Is a grimace a misdemeanor, or a worse expression, a felony? Imagine artists sketching the defendant's alleged ugly face while the dog sits on the witness stand, barking its testimony. In Samoa, it is illegal for a husband to forget his wife's birthday. This is a real law in the Pacific Islands. The punishment is a stern warning and a fine. If the husband forgets again, the fine increases. This law acts like the world's most powerful calendar reminder to never forget important dates. Some countries have their own unique laws aimed at maintaining internal order. For example, Samoa has very strict norms regulating relationships between people, while in Turkey, black automobiles are banned. In 2000, the Turkish president, a man with a white beard, banned black automobiles. He believed that the white color brings happiness and ordered citizens to replace their machines. The policy began to confiscate all black automobiles, preferring the choice of color in a political protest. This is an inevitable example when the head of state imposes a ban on a country's law. In Victoria, Australia, it is forbidden to sell lamps without an electric license. This law applies to the whole country, but it is based on the real responsibility of the license holder, ensuring safety. The law prohibiting the sale of electrical appliances in Victoria has been in force for more than 30 years to ensure that all electrical work is performed only by licensed specialists, even if it is just a lamp replacement. It is important that after buying a lamp without a license, you end up in court. As a result, the insurance company may refuse to pay compensation. In France, it is forbidden to call a wine Napoleon. This law was created to protect the reputation and honor of the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte during his lifetime. Other living people can have the same names, but it is forbidden to use the name of the famous General Napoleon in the country. This is a historical tradition. The level of violence in this part of the world is such that no farmer can afford to take 2 bullets from the same firearm, named after his own veins in his chest. In Canada, it is forbidden to plant more than 2 million seeds per square meter. The law on crops in 1985 established concrete limits on the planted area. The magazine tries to show the area of the plot if you plant more than 200 seeds or more than $2 in the niches. For the loonie coin, which consists of $1, the limit on the area allows planting $2. You can buy a television, use a mountain of coins, and sign a contract. In Singapore, with a population of 20,000 people, the production and import of live resin has been banned since the 2nd year. This ban has been in effect for a long time. The government declared a full-scale war on chewing gum littering. They saw gum on sidewalks as a threat to their expensive public transit system. Vandals began sticking gum on train door sensors, disrupting operations. Only therapeutic, dental, or nicotine gum is allowed, and only with a doctor's prescription. Imagine having to explain to your doctor that you need a medical reason to use a stick of gum like Orbit. In Japan, Yamato City banned walking while using a phone. This is not just discouraged, but strictly prohibited. If caught texting while walking, people face fines or reprimands. Officials say it reduces accidents, but it feels like dystopian surveillance. It's as if Big Brother watches your Candy Crush score instead of your politics in this city. In Arizona, cutting down a saguaro cactus is a felony. These desert giants can live for more than 150 years. The state rigorously protects saguaros. Harming one can lead to up to 25 years in prison. This penalty is harsher than for many violent crimes, showing how seriously Arizona protects its natural heritage. In Arizona, you can do a lot, but if you even accidentally look at a cactus, it seems to you that you will have to pay a fine. In Thailand, it is forbidden to leave the house without underwear. This law exists, but the mechanism for its enforcement is strictly vague. How do the police verify this? Is there a special police division responsible for patrolling underwear? The law is based on the fact that it detects psychological discomfort without applying sanctions. It is better to obey and gather evidence so as not to fall into the illegality of this strange law. In South Korea, it is forbidden to communicate with strangers near residential buildings. This law originated from the Act on the Loss of 1986. The wording of the law is very vague and confusing, which makes it a nightmare for the population. What does loss of residential buildings mean? For example, a man tries to illegally smuggle 24 lost items through the port. Is this a criminal offense or just an offense? The law is primarily designed for fights with violence, but it created a situation in which a loved one of the accused can appear under the accusation. In Japan, a 3-day festival of people from birth to 73 years old is celebrated. This is the National Championship of Sumo, held twice a year. The meta law requires companies and media organizations to immediately remove content that violates the law. Men are limited to 3 fights with a bare fist, women 3 fights with a whip. If you exceed the limit, you will not be allowed on the tour, but you can attend consultations on diet and training. This is a legitimate way to protect your own life. In Malaysia, it is forbidden to name children after animals, birds, or colors. For example, the names snake or shark are not allowed. This law was created to protect children from bullying. Most cases involve names of children through the ministry, so they were taught normally. In the red Italian region of Capri, it is forbidden to wear noisy shoes. The law protects the peace of the sandy beaches and surrounding cliffs. Most residents are very fond of fishing and hunting, so this law helps preserve the atmosphere of tranquility on the island. The town is so quiet, they have legally banned footwear that makes loud noises. Tourists have actually been fined for breaking this rule. Imagine getting stopped by police not for speeding, but because your flip-flops were too noisy. This is what absolute peace sounds like, or rather, what it doesn't sound like at all. According to the German Penal Code, a pillow can be considered a passive weapon. This means hitting someone with a pillow in a fight could lead to assault charges involving a dangerous object. The reasoning is that although a pillow is soft, it can still be used to smother someone. So a fun pillow fight at a sleepover might legally resemble a scene from an action movie. Germany's legal system is prepared for even the strangest situations, covering every bizarre possibility with its laws and regulations. In Burundi, jogging is a criminal offense. This is not a joke. In 2014, the president banned group jogging, claiming it was a cover for plotting anti-government activities. Citizens have been arrested and even sentenced to life imprisonment simply for going out to jog, demonstrating the government's strict control. Running with friends can be a joyful, healthy activity. Yet in some authoritarian regimes, even this simple act may be seen as political treason, a chilling reality to face. In Sweden, spontaneous dancing requires a government permit. If people start dancing in public places without a license, it is technically illegal according to old laws. This law dates back to the 1930s and demands bars and pubs have a dancing permit. It is rarely enforced on random citizens, but remains a notable bureaucracy. This regulation symbolizes the conflict between organized fun and state control. It shows how unscheduled joy can be suppressed by official crackdowns. In Quitman, Georgia, it is illegal for a chicken to cross the road. The law does not punish chickens, but holds their owners responsible for their animals' behavior. This ordinance was created to force farmers to keep livestock properly penned and off public roads, aiming to prevent accidents and chaos. However, it effectively ruins the classic joke about why the chicken crossed the road. In Quitman, the chicken would not cross to avoid its owner's hefty fine. In 2002, In Greece, all kinds of electronic games were banned across the country. The goal was to fight against illegal gambling games, but the ban was written with a very broad stroke. The ban also covered the game on the Nokia phone in Zmejka, or the use of a chess program on a home computer. Everything was banned inside the ban. The reason was simply absurd. A man mistook a game on the Game Boy for an internet cafe. After this incident, the case was considered inconclusive, but at one point in Greece, there was a completely pointless ban on digital games. In Ale, a small town south of Naples, Italy, it was forbidden to drive a car with an automobile. This was due to the connection with the danger of driving without a license. Local authorities concluded that street races provoke drivers. According to the police in the town, cars were forbidden on the streets, with roads leading to the path of the Euro. This is the main habitat of the romance beetle. According to living Italian folklore, it must be placed on the floor near the car's floor mat. In Britannia, a favorite habitat or a cat found on the floor near the car is considered a sign of a friendly monster. This sign indicates that for many years, the status of the coral community has been maintained. According to the belief, catching 3 fish in 2 years is considered a sign of classification as coral fish. The fish that caught such a fish is obliged to give it to the crown. This means that somewhere there is an old book of signs giving the rules of the Elizabethan crown for each selected sign on the edge of the city. This is the same British problem that only Tolko can solve. What should I do with the submarine with the deadly sea creatures inside? In the context of the Connecticut, to ensure that the hunter was considered a legal hunter, he must be released. This is not a matter of national pride, but of law. On Tuesday, 2 men arrested for selling illegal weapons were arrested in the city. There was a successful test. The prosecutor for production and legal affairs stated that a legal hunter who caught a high-speed one must be released. This test became a legal standard. This indicates that historically there was an inspector for hunters who strictly checked the legality of selling weapons and made arrests. In Canada, there is a rule to prevent more than 3 American pop artists from dominating the radio. This is an official government policy. Canada has rules to prevent American pop stars from dominating its airwaves. The canon rules use a complex point system to define what makes a song truly Canadian. The system considers the nationality of the artist, lyricist, and even the recording location. It's a form of cultural protectionism for Canadian music. Thanks to this, artists like Drake and The Weeknd get airtime. But generations of Canadians have also had to endure a certain amount of Nickelback. In Portugal, it is technically illegal to urinate in the ocean. This law is part of maritime decency regulations, though it seems almost unenforceable. Proving this offense would be a logistical nightmare. It implies the Portuguese Coast Guard might have a division with thermal imaging and salinity sensors. Their motto could be, "You can run, but you can't hide your sudden change in body temperature." This shows the absurdity of enforcing this law. In Alabama, it is illegal to keep an ice cream cone in your back pocket at any time. At first, this sounds like nonsense, But there is an old reason behind it. This strange law stops a clever method once used for stealing horses. They drove horses, tied by the neck in the back of a car with a lock. The horse was pulling behind, attached by a leash, and the horse could feel it, not resisting. If you loved, the word said that the pain is just a shadow behind us. The contract did not promise anything more. It was a measure of the positive edge of the pain from the previous week. According to the French Gradient Code, the parents do not have legal and financial responsibility for the child, even if the children are taken away. But they live at home and are registered. If your 2-year-old son, living in the basement, suddenly develops symptoms of a cold, call for help. In France, this is not supported. In Vermont, it is forbidden to connect a wire to a telephone pole. This contract is an example of a 3-dimensional contractual relationship. In Vermont's history, there were no incidents with wires and communication services. The contract states that it is necessary to prevent possible problems. Somewhere, a lawmaker stood up and warned, "Friends, we have a potential giraffe problem." Surprisingly, nobody laughed at this unusual but serious statement. In Western Australia, it is illegal to possess more than 50 kilograms of potatoes. This strange law dates back to the Great Depression and World War II market controls. The Potato Marketing Corporation controlled the entire potato industry for decades, maintaining a monopoly and using the law to eliminate competition. Potato farming in Western Australia resembled a narco-state, with potato mules and secret underground potato deals taking place to bypass the law. In Alabama, it is illegal to wear a fake mustache in church if it causes laughter. The law targets specific types of disruption. A fake mustache that causes quiet contemplation or solemn approval is allowed, but if it provokes laughter, it breaks the law in Alabama churches. In China, it is forbidden to wear Tibetan Buddhist monks' robes without official permission. This law was introduced 2,000 years ago. This is not a religious law, but a government decision of the Communist Party, which officially is atheist. The law applies to all countries wishing to obtain official recognition in several state schools. This is probably the darkest political manual in Soviet history. The authorities try to destroy the evening circle of life, dreams, and experiences. In the United Kingdom, it is forbidden to enter the palace grounds with a parrot. This law dates back to the reign of 3 consecutive monarchs. The law was created to prevent conflicts between 2 parties during the time of political debates with the help of a trained fighting dog. The law technically still exists, which is strange. Imagine how intense political debates would be with a dog barking at a turn from behind a political party's banner. In the state of Maryland, it is forbidden to be naked. The law aims to protect the oyster industry from harmful harvesting. Its wording personifies oysters, making one wonder about cruelty towards them and their feelings. Does speaking harshly to an oyster count as harassment? Or not complimenting its sheen as emotional neglect? The law humorously protects oyster emotions. On Tel Aviv beaches, it is illegal to bring bears. A municipal ordinance forbids bears on the city's famous coastlines. This rule suggests bears on beaches were once a significant problem. Imagining a bear on a beach with people shows human challenges and ambition. In South Dakota, falling asleep in a cheese factory is illegal. This law specifically targets cheese production, not general workplace safety. The idea of sleeping in a cheese factory is unusual. hinting at past issues and unique safety concerns in this environment. The story begins with a sleepy worker and a vat of cheddar, a tale passed down through generations of South Dakota cheese artisans. It reveals a peculiar law. This law answers a question no one thought to ask, but raises many more about the secret, narcoleptic history of American dairy production. In Trinidad and Tobago and several Caribbean nations, civilians are forbidden by law to wear camouflage clothing. This is not a fashion rule, but a security measure. The law prevents civilians from impersonating soldiers and stops gangs from using military patterns to cause fear and confusion in society. That trendy camouflage jacket you think is stylish could be seen as a criminal offense in these countries, potentially causing serious legal trouble. In France, it is legally possible to marry a deceased person, a practice called posthumous matrimony, officially recognized by French civil law. To marry a dead person, proof is needed that the deceased intended to marry before dying, plus direct permission from the President of France. This unusual law was introduced famously and remains a unique example of how French law adapts to extraordinary human circumstances. In the 21st century, it is possible to marry a deceased person after a tragedy, an unusual phenomenon of more than 40 cases. One man was a soldier. He did not have proof of the intention to marry before his death. This process was once purely legal, romantic, and strictly bureaucratic. Love knows no death. The state is legal and official. In North Carolina, a non-commercial organization cannot provide bingo for more than 5 hours. The law specifies the time so that players can play bingo without interruption. It is assumed that the law is designed to prevent illegal, many-hour bingo marathons with energetic and professional players. This solves the problem of fatigue better than the law itself, which regulates the comfort of people who love to play bingo. In Reggio Emilia, Italy, there was a local law prohibiting street gambling on the beach, as they considered it a source of public disorder. When children around the world talk about bases and creeps, this is the story of mini zombies who can come to the exit or the street. This is a single place where the distribution of the weight of the load can be considered as a common work. In Arizona, it is forbidden to distribute the bone of a sparrow in a van. This ban arose after an incident in 1924 when a sparrow bone was found in an old van on the ranch of a cowboy. At the time of the dam's collapse, an underground water flow from the van mixed with a bone in many thousands of miles inside the valley along the length. The operation was both massive and secretive. After this, the city passed a law to prohibit obscene and absurd situations in the building and to protect living beings from risk. In Rome, it is forbidden to sell coins made of the Trevi fountain. Millions of tourists throw coins into the water, unaware of the ban. Every evening, fountains operate, and crowds of people walking up to millions of dollars annually in the city are watched by a cat-like, vigilant organization. In such a case, singing off-key is not only inappropriate, but it also causes distress to those nearby under the criminal law. In Northern Carolina, 5 false charges have been filed. This law is based on there is a broad category of disturbing the peace. Although unlikely to be arrested for a bad karaoke performance, the law allows police to stop anyone whose singing is a public nuisance. This law turns music criticism into a legal weapon. being slightly off-pitch moves from casual insult to a possible legal accusation under this statute. Until recently, most Cubans were not allowed a private internet connection at home. The government tightly controlled telecommunications with a strict state monopoly. Internet access was limited to expensive, state-controlled Wi-Fi hotspots in public parks. 1 hour could cost a large part of a monthly salary. This was a clear example of government using information control as power. Access to the modern world was treated as a punishable offense. Jaywalking is mostly an American crime. In much of the world, pedestrians cross streets wherever they feel safe without legal trouble. The term and laws against jaywalking were heavily promoted in the 1920s by the auto industry. They aimed to shift street ownership perception from people to cars. Reclined campaigns featured footprints, passing streets, like Beckett's jeans, a slang term for describing homeless people. This helped introduce the concept behind the black and white design. Such signs were intended to convey a message for automobiles, primarily a warning about approaching pedestrians. This changed the city landscape and everyday life. In South Korea, the jeans phenomenon is widespread, with many considering them a symbol of the corrupted imperialist influence of the United States. Jeans jackets and some piercing styles are considered symbols of antisocial behavior. Properly dressed police patrol streets on foot. This is a harsh reminder that in some countries, a pair of jeans is considered not just clothing, but a malicious and offensive political message. In Paraguay, duels are prohibited, but only if one of the participants is registered as a student at a university. Since 1992, this act has been officially decriminalized. The logic of this unusual law is that if you decide to engage in a potentially deadly duel, you must do so for the public good. This is the only law, buy one, get one free, for gamblers and bookies. Combining gambling with social use, we have compiled a list of countries where dueling is prohibited, and there is only one. But before the final, there was a time of higher verdicts. According to our opinion, the most absurd law belongs to Qatar, which forbids Buddhist monks to travel without a permit. This is an official document of the bureaucratic high command to regulate the transfer, not just the legal division or the logic. Do you agree or believe that another department is responsible for this symbolic part? Write your opinion in the comments. And here is a chapter from our final, heartfelt story. In the French mountain town of Châtel, New Dupe was sent to fly and settle with the flying taro plants over the vineyards. This is not a joke. In the village, the girl is supposed to spend 4 years of her life in a municipal hostel, sent by flying taro plants and signs to protect and settle the city. This order became a general pair code, which brought universal meaning to the wine city. The order was like this and was not canceled. This indicates that any foreign state planning a visit to France must study the local laws. Before embarking on their intergalactic wine tour, travelers should check zoning ordinances carefully to avoid having their spaceship impounded by local authorities. These unusual laws are not just strange rules. They reflect our history, fears, and awkward attempts to control our environment in unexpected ways. From laws protecting donkeys to those regulating bathtubs and even the afterlife, human logic often defies expectations in the most surprising ways. This raises an interesting question. What unwritten rule in your city or country do you believe deserves to become an official law? We invite you to share your suggestions in the comments section. as we love exploring the quirks of legislative madness together. For more fascinating journeys into the world of strange laws and legislative insanity, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next adventure.